Welcome to the first marathon symposium, acting symposium. We are very happy and pleased to organize this event with the support of all our collaborators and friends to this gathering. I want to thank you, all of you, because you support this project. And we are very pleased and honored, happy to have between us Professor Barkhout. He will speak about the Ensarkoses of
the making of the actor.
The making of the actor.
Right.
And he uses the Greek word, Ensarkoses. Ensarkoses, which is something like embodiment, but it's not exactly embodiment. It's something deeper than embodiment. Because Ensarkoses is the sark, is the flesh. So it means to, let's say, my word, and flesh something. Okay. So it was a discussion we had before about the Greek words and the Greek terminology. I mean, the Western philosophy misunderstood some of the notions of the poetics and Aristotle and the philosophy generally, but we are happy now to have Stephen Halliwell from St. Andrews. You know Stephen Halliwell. So he clarified in a more correct way, let's say close to us, some of the notions, but still we need to study again and to find the right words to articulate, and the most important to experience it than to articulate, because this is the most important thing, to experience the word, not to say the words. This is the main thing for us. So I leave Bharat to continue his speech. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I have a cold today, so my voice would not be able to carry through as it is normally able to. You'll forgive me for that. I'll try my best. To begin with, I'm extremely happy to be here. Mu erese I alada poli. I am greatly in love with this land of Greece, and I keep coming here again and again for the last 30 years. And I spent a lot of time studying ancient Greek theater, all the great playwrights and the theater, which is not just a body of text or some script, but which is a performance, because theater is something that you see with your eyes and hear and see all around. And in a theater spot or a theatron, and the Greeks, of course, made a great art out of creating an auditorium. It's absolutely unique, and the way they did it. So that's just the beginning. Now I wish to talk today about the making of the actor. The making of the actor means, how does the actor really embody a particular character? It may be a very brief role, maybe just 2 minutes. It may be the whole play like Hamlet, or it may be just Ophelia coming in for a short while. But even if it is for a few moments, it has to be a presence of the character. And how does the actor, he actor, she actor, or whatever, is able to make that alive on stage? Something which is not to be seen elsewhere, anywhere in the world. I mean, we all say that theater is a reflection of what happens in life. It's an imitation of the world. But yet it's something unique, something different. Things which are very unpleasant, which we don't want to see, hear, or experience in our life, we love to go and see in theater. You see the big transformation that theater is able to do. So nobody wants to cry in life, but to cry in theater is a joy. Our sweetest songs are those that tell of saddest thought, you know, the British poet Shelley. So it transforms and it creates something straight, real, before our eyes and ears. How does this transformation happen? It is through the actor. The actor must first transform himself or herself to do this. Unless this happens, there will be no real transformation on the stage. It's the agency of the actor. I'm using the word actor as something that covers everything. You know, it covers the backdrop, it covers the stage property, it covers what, with modern technology, you may have all those effects with lights and various other interventions of modern technology. I'm talking about that which creates the character. Because that which creates the character is a person. Everything else is a backdrop. The clothes, the costume, the settings, etc. But it is the transformation of the character that the actor undergoes. Now, there have been various theories about it, and I don't have time to refer to them or to go into them. And great theater directors have talked about it, like Stanislavski and others, as to how do I create a character as an actor. But I wish to tell you about something which was practiced in the ancient Greek world, and also practiced in the ancient Indian world. And the word I have chosen to describe that is the Greek word Ensarkoses, which is taking flesh. Now, it's not exactly what the Bible says, that in the beginning there was the Word, and the Word became truth and God and all that. No. It's Ensarkoses, that is just in the context of the Christian story. That's mainly in the context of that. But I'm talking here taking of flesh not in the Christian sense, because the Christian sense is with reference to Jesus. Jesus becomes man, Jesus descends on earth to save humanity from the sin it did and to restore them once again to heaven. I'm not talking of that. I'm talking here of the Greek way, or rather the Indo-European way, in which a spirit, something divine, something bigger, something cosmic, it descends on earth, it comes to earth, takes a shape, becomes a hero or a heroine and becomes a character. That is taking flesh. Now, of course, the Christian idea, I need not repeat, is taken from the Greek idea. The Christian idea of Jesus as the one and only begotten Son of God, it's something which draws upon the whole Greek tradition, the ancient Greek tradition. And the ancient Greek tradition is how something which is greater than humankind, or a character or a force which is bigger, that helps or that comes or that is born and takes flesh and becomes a character. So you have all these great ancient characters like Achilles and various other characters who have an element of divinity in them in terms of force. And yet they are part of the earth. They are part of humanity. They are part of the living world. And because they are better than the average person, that is why they are heroic. So it is the touch of something special. Now, what I wish to draw your attention to is this, that it is the force of something special. Call it aesthetic, or call it emotional, or call it dramatic, that is able to transform a reality and a character into something living on the stage. Because what you see there, and what you see there as performing and acting, is something which is real. It's part of your experience. And yet you know that it is not real in the ordinary sense. I mean, a person who is an actor, you say, well, I know him. He is a neighbor. He is John, Yanis. He's not what he is playing on the stage. But then when I look closely, he doesn't appear to be that person. He's transformed. Sometimes I think he's like him, but that he's not like him. He's a new person. He's entirely different. So something is created there which is not part of the actor, but beyond the actor. Now that is taking the character and making it real. The character which you see on the stage, I'm not talking of reading an epic or reading a poem. I mean, you can think of that as derivative, that something which happens on stage or something that I read in a book, in an epic, I imagine. But on the stage, that experience is absolutely real of the heroic. Now, that is taking, metaphorically speaking, taking flesh or taking a material reality. It is something which has descended. It is something which is not known to us, but which has been brought onto the stage by an extraordinary finesse and extraordinary art. And this was done in ancient Greek theater in Greece and in India also, because there was no realism. You see, today, from 18th, 19th century onwards, you see the actor. And in cinema, the actor is known, very well known to you. So it's, let's say, Sir Olivier, who is playing Hamlet. Now, when he is playing Hamlet, he will appear to be, you know, his features, his plays, his characters, his everything. It's not like the historical Hamlet. Of course, there was no historical Hamlet. But then he transforms into a character, into a Hamlet, into a body metaphorically speaking, into a flesh, which he is not there as a person. So the person has to get transformed. And it is the power of training, the power of action, the power of making from the actor into that character, which completely wipes out the actor. The actor is not there anymore. Because if the actor is there, then you say, well, he is so-and-so acting as Hamlet. You won't say he is Hamlet. And unless you see Hamlet, your play is not over. You're not satisfied. You want to see a new creation. You want to see Hamlet. Something which you were not able to see by just reading the text of Shakespeare. Because now you are in theater and you want to see all those characters as people who have taken a body, embodiment, perfect embodiment that must have happened. Now, one of the Indian texts of dramaturgy called the Natyashastra explains this process. And in the Indian tradition, we have all kinds of analysis, centuries of analysis as to what exactly happens. How does this happen? How does this depersonalization happen? The person is no longer the person. The metaphor which is used in the Indian text is something like this. It says the actor is to be possessed by the deep feeling, by the deep sentiment, the deep emotion of that character to make that character alive. Because the historical character doesn't exist. I mean, nobody has seen Hamlet. There was no Hamlet. It's only a construction. What is real about that is that dilemma, to be or not to be. You see, that feeling is real Hamlet. Of course, it gets expanded and the whole character you see. So, if the actor is able to totally encapture that and live and transform that, then they would be taking the body, taking the flesh. Then it would be something which would deliver to the audience. And the text, the Natyashastra, it uses the simile that just as fire is able to go into every little corner of a dry piece of wood and burn the wood, totally burn the wood. Similarly, with his inner feeling, the actor is able to enter the character. Completeness. Nothing should be left behind. And when this happens, then this is a miracle. You see, there is this element of the miraculous in theater. And this element of miraculous is something which is connected with religious experience also. Because it is beyond everyday experience. It is beyond what we normally see in life. And what we see something exceptional in theater is what makes theater worth it. I mean, it's indisputable that theater has something to offer which nothing else can offer. It transforms all our woes into pleasure. What we think is awful in life, to experience that becomes pleasurable. That's why you go to see horror movies, because horror in theater or horror in films is something which is welcome. Because the actor is able to bring that emotion in its untainted form. Life always has an emotion, gives the experience of an emotion which is tainted by some kind of other emotions of fear. Like I may be having a very good time, but I'm afraid that this may not last, or somebody may come and disturb us, or something else may happen. There is always a possibility in real life about my pleasure not lasting. But the very emotions which in life are not untainted or unthreatened become untainted and unthreatened in theater, because then you are lost in those emotions. And it is this transformation that the actor is able to do. Now, as a precondition to this, the actor must forget herself or himself. The personality of the actor doesn't count. It is an external force, that emotion, that idea, that character which has come into the actor. His or her idiosyncrasies or ways of acting or ways of sitting or personality traits, they must be put aside. They cannot be part of that character, because the making of that character is something new, unique, and different. Of course, it is according to what is described by the playwright and created by the playwright. But the personal in the actor cannot intervene. This is the big difference between cinema and theater. Because the great cinema stars, they have always something which people love in their personality, and then they go to see them on the screen. So I love John Wayne, so I want to see him speaking in this accent and shooting the gun this way. So I go for that personality, which is the personality of the actor. So if the actor plays, let's say, it's all right, he can play certain roles, certain roles which ask great success, but he cannot be the transforming actor. Whereas you found that in ancient Greek theater, for instance, the shape, the size, the complexion of the theater, of the actor, simply didn't matter. Because you didn't see the face, the body, whether it was a muscular body or a slim body didn't matter, because it was part of it was under the costume. So it's how you manipulated the costume, how you manipulated the mask. The art was entirely in that. And that manipulation is the creation of the character. You create a character there on the stage. It has nothing to do with the personality of the player. That kind of art of course, has disappeared here in Greece, but we have a tradition of that kind of art in India still. In some of our traditional forms, the actor takes up a paste mask, like in Kathakali, or a real mask, and acts. And then whether the person is fair or black or very fair or this, it doesn't matter. It's the skill. And also, there are forms in which the actor undergoes a real possession. But that is a different story, because that is theater of possession, where certain spirits possess you, you call the spirits, and then you become the spirit. And that religious experience, or that artistic experience, is found in India and in Africa, in voodoo and various other traditional methods of performance and art, but that is the theater of possession. And it's a different thing from a regular story which is told in a theater hall and then told and retold, and it has a literary script, etc. So this transformation of the actor is bringing something on the earth which is unusual. Now, I would again try to draw a parallel with ancient Greek theater, because all those characters which you saw on the Greek stage, they were never seen in real life, because they were all heroes and characters from what is called mythology or ancient past, and they were gods and goddesses. But you believe them to be real, because unless you believe them to be real, you will not enjoy them, or you would not feel them, or you would not recognize them as persons, and you would not be carried away by the emotion which they express. Yes, some philosophers like Plato had an objection to it, that why would you be carried away by an emotion, because that makes you unreasonable. That's why he didn't want the tragedian to be part of the Republic. But Aristotle said, no, this is not the truth, because he is showing something which you don't see in life, and he's created something new. So you are not away from reality, but you are experiencing a new reality. See, this is how Aristotle interpreted the whole experience. So this creation of the new reality is the real thing. And I call it Ensarkoses because it is a shape. It is flesh and blood. I mean, it may not be flesh and blood in the natural sense as we are. It is under a costume, or it may not be under a costume. Because when you do realistic theater, then you don't have a mask. There are various forms of theater, but in every theater there is a transformation. And the person on the stage is something which is only on the stage. That reality is existing there, nowhere else. That person is a character only on the stage. And that is the transformed actor, and that is what I have tried to describe by the word Ensarkoses. The reason I use this word is to draw attention to the ancient Greek idea of the divine coming down on earth, taking flesh, becoming flesh. The Indian tradition also has a parallel to it. And the Indian word for that is avatar, descent. The literal meaning of the word avatar is descent. It's descent of what? It's not descent of a meteoroid or an asteroid, or it's descent of a divine power. It's descent of something which is bigger, which is larger, which is greater, which is not experienced. And when that also comes and takes a shape and becomes human and lives a human character and has a whole story, then that is a character which is human as well as divine both. So I have tried to put before you this very special transformation that you find in theater. No other art does it. Other arts imitate theater. Like painting may create a character out of theater or out of stories. But theater presents it to you right before your eyes and ears. Thank you very much for giving me attention. I can take some questions if there is time. We have a few minutes of questions.
Just to say something about the word again. So usually now we don't use the word imitation. We use the word mimesis.
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 Yes, mimesis.
Because something mimics something else.
Yeah.
Because imitation for us is it's a copy.
Yeah,
something. So it's
yeah.
Also the Anglo-Saxonian word accept the difference between the word imitation and representation.
Oh,
mimesis.
Yes.
Mimesis is exactly what the professor explained about that Ensarkoses.
Yeah.
And it's not simply a copy of something.
Right.
So this is, yes. So for the Greeks, please use the word mimesis. if you like. Do you have any questions? Yes, Josephine.
Thank you for the talk. I was thinking of, although, of course, we don't normally, at least in the West, don't do this tradition anymore so much with the mask work. Both, when I say mask work, I don't mean only mask, but
Yeah, can you be a little louder, please?
yes, that we don't create the mask work as often on the stage, and not only the mask on the head, but also the body. But I'm thinking something that has gone away, which is an actor who devotes themselves to one, or maybe two, but usually one character throughout their lives. Because now, in the modern time, you are supposed to be able to play many kind of characters. But even, okay, thank you. But even in the ancient texts, in the heroic, they were few. They weren't a plethora of different characters, so you could specialize more. And for example, the comic tradition has that more still in modern times, that you have one. When we think of Charlie Chaplin, we think of the Tramp. Nobody knows who Charlie Chaplin is. The same with Buster Keaton. They played one character.
Yeah, I get your question. Yeah. Okay, my response to my response to that is it's partially true. See, everywhere in the world, in the ancient world, professional actors were playing many roles. Otherwise, they'll be out of business. Where they could play many roles. But the reason why the facial mask or prosopon went out of not fashion but out of theater was different. That was theological. Because the Christians said that God has created you in His image. So I am so and so, I have been created in God's image, he or she is created in God's image. And now if I or she takes up another image, or another face, or a prosopon, because in Greek, as you know, that the word for mask is prosopon, face. So if you take another face, then it is sin. You see, then it's not allowed. So it was a theological objection that came in. And that's how mask became, there's a whole history, as you know, of mask becoming evil. It became something which was not acceptable anymore. And therefore, the arts related to mask, they dwindled. But theater cannot live without mask, or changing personality, changing characters, changing self. So that kind of theology is something which theater would never anywhere in the world accept. People want to go on creating new things. So, yeah.
Thank you very much for your very inspired presentation. As a person who represents Africa, specifically West Africa, I think that the question is through my presentation or proposal, which is certainly in Nigeria, with the Yoruba, Ifa, or with the Akan in Ghana, also with the Wolof, these are in Senegal. The metaphysical idea of the universe has a different structure. So we have our temporal idea is that we have the ancestors, the living, and the unborn. And the unborn can be unborn ideas, unborn thoughts, unborn children, but that with living is borrowing the earth from the unborn. And then you have the circle of archetypes, which then bind all three in one. So, Orishas, divine forces, sun, rain, rivers, bind the unborn, the ancestors, and the living into one experience. So the idea is that when you return, in European culture, you have this idea that you're not ripe when you're a teenager. You're green when you're a teenager. You're ripe just before you die. And the prayer is, may you live to see your children's children. So when you pass, you return to the realm of the archetypes, which is the spirit world. So with that kind of metaphysical construct, theatre takes on a form of connecting the worlds.
Right.
Which is not the same in the West. And I think this is the thing of theatre is an aesthetic reflection of life, which is wonderful. The idea of masks, then, when we see masks in museums in Britain, for us, that's an insult because they've stolen it as an trophy cabinet and they're displaying it because traditionally those masks wouldn't be displayed. They will be hidden until they are performed.
Yeah.
When they're performed, we see them live and moving, and when they're finished, they're hidden.
Yeah.
They're not meant to be seen as a kind of object of fascination. So by putting them in a museum, that is a constant affront to the culture.
Quite agree.
Yeah.
Quite agree.
So the question for me then is there such a tradition in India?
Yes, in India, there is a very big tradition which corresponds to that. And you see this whole concept of ancestors living, not dead. This is again a Indo-European belief. In ancient Greece, people believed in it. You know, you have the underworld in which there are the asphodel fields and the Elysian fields, and people on the earth were making constant offerings and sacrifices so that the ancestors could get rejuvenated. So there is a whole list of rituals which were practiced in the temples, etc. So you connect it to the ancestors. And there are signs and stories that there was some kind of a belief among some people in rebirth also in Greece. Whereas in India, there was constantly the idea of every individual taking birth again. But the long and short of it is, as you said, that it is a connection with the ancestors. And the ancestors are not gone forever or disappear. They are in connection with the living. And the living are in some way or the other sustained. And theatre is a way of reinforcing that whole belief by an enactment and creating characters. So that something which exists and which I can't see with my flesh, with my eyes, terrestrial eyes, I see through the stage when it is recreated and enacted there. But it is an affirmation of the belief that there is the other world. There is the world of the ancestors, there is the world of gods, there is the world of heroes, and I have a connection with them. And I have an obligation to them also. So loosely it's called ancestor worship, and Islam and Christianity have had no place for it, but so many other cultures, they believed in it and they practiced in it. Yeah, I think we have to now go to the next item of the program.
But we'll be all here these days, so we have the opportunity to discuss with Bharat. He will stay with us until Friday,
Certainly.
so we can spend some evening speaking about these interesting things. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone.